So with the rise of side hustles and entrepreneurship, and everyone has, almost 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs, I guess, is there still a space to just have a 9 to 5 or to have a corporate job? Where do you fall in that debate? Do you think everyone should have a side hustle? Do you think that, you're doing yourself a disservice, or where do you fall in that debate?
Thanks, Ifat. It's a great question, because obviously everybody right now talks about side hustles and, diversifying your income sources and wealth building. And I suppose you've got to take a step back and actually think about, why is it that we're all talking about this? Why is it that it's prevalent for people to have this conversation? I think, first of all, you have to address the fact that actually maybe people feel like they can't sustain a decent lifestyle based on what they might be earning currently in their jobs. I mean, I think you can't overlook the fact that certainly if you live in the urban parts of the UK, then chances are the house prices are through the roof, cost of living is fairly high, and salaries don't necessarily rise to match up with the increased cost of living. Then you think about the fact that people, especially younger people for whom this is a very prevalent question, are coming out of university with increased debts from having to take out student loans and all, what have you. And so, the math isn't mathing, as sometimes we like to say, right? So that's one of the reasons why people actually have to look at multiple sources of income, not just side hustle. Then the second reason, of course, is is what they're doing, is what they're employed to do, actually fulfilling for them, right? So having worked really hard, you aced all of your GCSEs, A-levels, you got a first class, all the rest of it, your parents are super proud, now you've got this job, and you're just sort of like, oh, right, okay, this is it, this is what I do all day long. Maybe it's not actually stimulating, right? So maybe there's something that's missing in your day-to-day job that, in 2021, because of the fact that technology has made it very easy for anybody to, essentially, you can create a website in a minute, right? You can register a company in Company's House. You can put together a small amount of cash and create a T-shirt line or whatever. So people feel that actually, do I have to be bound by this thing that I'm that I'm now sort of like contractually employed to do through my employer? So I think those are kind of like the push and pull factors. And then obviously, furthermore, you think about the fact that any young person now who's following tech sees that, hey, most of the people who are tech billionaires are like under 30 years old. Then they start to say, well, hang on, what is it that I'm actually doing in corporate, right? Like, why is it that I've chosen this path when, Mr. XYZ over here or Mrs. ABC over there has gone solo, lots of hard work, but somehow seems to be doing better. And I say better in quotes because it's not really better. Everyone likes to think, that these, lifestyles of an entrepreneur are better. But those are some of the push-pull factors. So I think at its core, you have to think about, like, what is it for you that's missing that might suggest that you want to do a side hustle, right? So if it's actually about the fact that maybe you're in an employment in a great organization, you love the job, but there's maybe just like your passion project is missing in some way, then actually maybe just make it a passion project, maybe just make it a hobby. I don't think everything has to end up being monetized. We're kind of in this culture where, people, you just put a picture of yourself, and if people like the picture, everyone now thinks, oh, I can be a photographer and I can monetize a picture. It's like, no, it's okay to just have a hobby, or it's okay for things to not, be your seventh income source. But if genuinely there's other things that you can do, then I think it's actually a fantastic way to use other parts of your brain, right? So if all day long you're looking at spreadsheets and numbers and what have you, but you have this really creative outlet that isn't fulfilled by your day job, then yeah, by all means, have a side hustle, right? Be a photographer, be an artist, be a creative, run a podcast. But I wouldn't say, do it just because you feel like your current job doesn't pay enough and therefore you need to do more. Because that way I think you're actually going to spread yourself really thin. And so we probably need to address why maybe your current job isn't satisfying you. And then to, Ola's point earlier, there's ways to look at, entrepreneurism, like what can you do within your organization as well to maybe like challenge yourself and do a little bit more.
Yeah, amazing points. I don't know what more to really add to that, but I think that naturally life is a series of choices. So we all, like Folake just said, we're going to be, there's going to be lots of different push and pull factors, and we're going to be influenced by them according to our personal circumstances, right? So I would say that at the end of the day, over 57% of people have side hustles, according to some latest research. And in America, I think 1 in 3 people have a side hustle. So this is becoming really prevalent within within the world, and I agree that it's for multiple different reasons, whether it is the cost of living, whether it is just that kind of thing now that people want to explore further than their 9 to 5. Ollie made the great point around capacity. Do you actually have the capacity, or are you willing to make the capacity at the sacrifice of something else in order to have a 9 to 5, but then also to have a side hustle? From my perspective, I think that 9 to 5s and the toolkit that you build within a corporate career can actually lend itself very, very helpfully to a side hustle, or to creating your own business, or being self-employed by providing consultancy services to others based on the things that you learn and the things that you've mastered through your 9 to 5. I think that it really goes back to my first point in terms of things being a series of choices, and being very clear on your purpose and your mission as to why you would want to launch your side hustle, so you don't end up in a world where you try to monetize a hobby and now you no longer enjoy that hobby because it feels like work. So you've had a misguided kind of purpose as to starting that side hustle, which then makes probably it quite a short-term thing, and then you limit the longevity to that side hustle. So yeah, I think that there's pros and cons. I personally feel that if you do have capacity to explore a side hustle, start a business, start a consultancy, and it's for your benefit, and you're very clear on what those benefits are, then I would most definitely be a champion for those things. But equally, if you wanted to focus purely on your 9 to 5 and grow that career and elevate yourself and promote yourself through that career, then equally that can be fruitful also. So it's a bit of smokes and mirrors. It's a very personal choice, and I would like to see people take more of a personal angle to starting things, as opposed to being too heavily influenced in regards to what everybody else is doing, or what looks and feels popular, because these things, where if you do have a side hustle, it definitely comes at sacrifice, time, energy, money, attention span, other things that you could be doing. So it definitely needs to be deeply considered from a personal perspective.